Greetings from the Idiot Box, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the wacky in television. I'm Allison Lips. Today, Darin, Mike, and I break bad and Better Call Saul. Yes, after 10 years, I finally finished the Gilliverse. Before we get into Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and El Camino, I'd like to welcome Darin and Mike. You know them and love them as the guys who chose Airwolf because of its killer theme song. And for that, I'm going to let the host of Irritable Dad Syndrome introduce themselves.
Darin.
I'm Darin.
I'm Mike.
Yes. And we're the Irritable Dads from Irritable Dad Syndrome.
Cincinnati's comedy podcast. Cincinnati because we are in Cincinnati.
We're in Cincinnati.
And comedy because we are
hilarious.
Funny.
So funny.
Stupid funny.
And we promise
Yeah.
that we are not going to attempt to break your podcast like we almost did last time.
No. We're going to be very
We're gonna be
respectful.
good.
Yes.
And we're not going to bring up Airwolf.
Okay.
At all.
I don't know if that is possible.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Darin has worked in television for, 25 years?
32 years.
32 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike works at a polymer factory.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've watched television for almost 50 years. So there's that.
You know what? You don't have to work in television to be an expert in television.
That's right.
No, you
And
don't.
Mike knows his stuff.
Well, thank you, Darin.
Well, you have a photographic memory. You remember all kinds of things that I never could possibly remember.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're off to a good start.
Yeah. And, I see,
Yeah.
and then you compliment me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very good at wearing hats.
So I figure we're going to go in order of when the shows were released. We have a lot to talk about tonight. So first, let's go through some key dates. Breaking Bad debuted on AMC in 2008 and ended in 2013. Better Call Saul began in 2015 and ran until 2017. El Camino is on Netflix. I believe that came out in 2019. I thought it was a little later than that, but 2019.
Very hard to find a Blu-ray of that. That's normal. I was searching last week. I wanted to actually own the Blu-ray.
Oh, I never even thought about looking for it on.
Yeah.
I haven't bought physical media, a movie, and I can't remember how long.
Yeah.
It's probably Avengers Endgame was the last physical DVD I bought.
So yeah, I'm going back through the series Breaking Bad again now. So we have the barrel set.
I have the barrel also.
And which
Okay.
I fully 100% recommend.
Absolutely.
The commentary, the extra details, the blooper reels, all that stuff is worth tons more than what you pay for the thing.
I think my favorite thing on the barrel, and this is why you had mentioned this, and that's why I bought it, was that they have each major character's final scene.
Yeah.
And they show the final scene, and then they cut, and then you see everybody on set, and they everyone had autographed this giant poster of something for Marie, something for Walt, something for Walt Jr.
Right.
And man, you don't get that on typical DVDs. Their last scene, and they're crying in every episode.
Yeah.
Every one.
Yeah. So
Okay, yeah, I just looked online and okay, the DVD, is there a DVD? It looks like the barrel is only in Blu-ray format.
Right.
that's right.
So that
the way
is
God intended.
Yeah, I
Okay.
keep calling Blu-rays DVDs. I'm old.
Yeah, I don't own a Blu-ray player, so
So I don't know if you can see the barrel, but it's a beautiful thing that I'm having trouble with right now.
It's a barrel.
Yeah. But
yeah,
the
it looks
coolest-
like
the
one of
coolest
those in those
thing-
scenes where they have the chemicals.
Where he buried the money.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
it's like a puzzle barrel. There it is.
Hey.
So each season this is really cool. Is in these weird magnetic discs.
A magnet.
Yeah, it's magnetic coasters, and you pull them apart, and
Okay.
then there's the disc in between. So there's like 2 or 3 discs per season, and I'm not going to take all the discs out, but each one has a picture related to that episode.
So
And
this
this is
segment is
this
brought
is
to you by
season 2, disc
QVC
4.
and the
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
who brought you the Breaking Bad DVD barrel.
Box set.
The
Yeah.
top of the barrel has the coordinates of where the barrel was buried.
Yeah.
And this is the DVD or the Blu-ray that Darin was talking about.
It
that
is
has all the
it is a
five things.
nerd.
Yeah.
It's a nerd-tastic.
And open it, you see the money, and there's a Pollos Hermanos apron that's wrapped up in the money. But you see the money, and you're like, oh my Lord, they put $1 million in this barrel. I'm rich. I never have to work again.
And I was fooled
that's
by
not the truth.
because I thought that there was so much money in my barrel.
Boy, that was embarrassing going back to my job and begging for it back.
I bought a pool and everything.
But here's my favorite thing in this is they have a challenge coin. We promise to give your show back to you here in a minute.
I swore we would take control.
Are you getting a kickback?
Here. So that's Heisenberg, and then you have for Breaking Bad. So each member of the cast had these challenge coins, and they used them in drinking games, Vegas.
Some people like to flip their coin.
Some people flip their coins.
With how it lands.
Yeah. So
does each one have a different one, or they all have the same challenge coin?
I'm choosing to believe they all have the same because I'd like to have the same one as Hank.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I think the point of bringing out the barrel and discussing that both of us have that is we are just nerds for Breaking Bad.
Now
I haven't seen it as many times as Mike has. I watched it in its entirety only twice. Mike's on his fourth.
I'm on my fifth or sixth run through, and I've watched it with all director commentary because they really didn't start doing that in earnest until halfway through the second season. And then by the time they get to the fourth and fifth season, they're having, Bryan Cranston directed some episodes that he's doing the commentary. They'll have people in. And I tell you what, if you do get the barrel, the ones where Bryan Cranston is doing the commentary are awesome. It's just like a little party with as other members of the cast. And it becomes a show on top of a show. There's so much symbolism all through each episode with like Marie's obsession with purple, all kinds of different things. The way Heisenberg, his face changes when he, all kinds of stuff.
My mind is still blown at how Bryan Cranston pulls off that character of Heisenberg.
Right, because he was previously best known for Malcolm in the Middle as Hal.
And then he was on Seinfeld, all those episodes.
Tim Whatley.
Yeah, Tim Whatley. And when I heard that he was doing this series, I was like, really? And I didn't know that it was going to last. And I don't know that anybody knew that it was going to last. But my God, it ended up being the greatest TV show of all time.
I really didn't know about the show when it came out because I wasn't anti-TV. I just wasn't watching TV when it hit. And it took me a while to get into it. My wife and I started binging it, I think, with season 3. Season 3 ended and we caught up in season 4. So we actually saw from season 4 forward week to week as it was coming out.
I think we did the same thing. Libby and I would watch it on DVD, but we used to have the DVD plan on Netflix. So they'd mail you the DVD, we'd watch the 3 episodes, send it back and anxiously await, and then we'd watch 3 episodes as fast as we could. We caught up.
Yeah.
And then we had to wait week by week. I'm like, this sucks.
For this show is torture.
Yes.
You damn millennials and you Gen Ys and you Gen Zs have no idea.
Yeah.
As if you watch this series, and I know we're going to get into it, but you see how some of these episodes end on a cliffhanger.
Oh, geez.
My God, the one with there's a specific gunfight, and it just stops when they start shooting. He's like, and that was a big one. That was like, they took a break because it was Easter. It was stupid.
What I found myself doing, because I was binge watching it on Netflix, was because of those cliffhangers, I'd stop in the middle of a show because I wanted the cliffhanger from the other show to be resolved, to be resolved. But the new, plot lines don't really start until halfway through the other episode.
That's true.
So if you're at the midway point, which is, of course, not how it was intended to be watched.
Right. Well, you could also stop every time Walt Jr. sits down to eat breakfast.
Or every time he talks about Raisin Bran Crunch.
Yeah.
Mom, it's not Raisin Bran. It's Raisin Bran Crunch.
It says it on the box.
Yeah.
It's right there.
It's right there.
We literally just watched that episode a couple days ago.
Also, we were talking about Bryan Cranston and his acting. If you go back and watch an episode of The X-Files.
Oh, yeah. The episode he was in was phenomenal.
Yes, and that was what convinced Vince Gilligan that he
Yeah.
could do Walter White, and that episode helped Gilligan convince AMC that the guy from Malcolm in the Middle was
Yeah.
your Walter White.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Vince wrote for X-Files for
Yes.
at least
Yes.
1 or 2 episodes.
I can't remember, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so it all came full circle.
But no, Cranston was phenomenal. And you go back and you watch season after you finished it, and then you go back and watch it again. And then that's what's awesome about watching shows a second time, because you pick up things that you missed.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
holy crap, that was the thing with the thing, you know.
Brilliant.
Good example. I
Brilliant
know.
example.
Thank you.
With me, when we first watched it, I actually, like a lot of people, could not stand Skylar. Hank annoyed me.
Yeah.
I love Skylar.
And I was rooting for Walt constantly. And every time I've watched it since, Walt progressively disgusts me as the show goes.
Yeah.
And I empathize with Skylar like crazy. You talk about her and Jesse. Those two characters go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Hank, every second Hank is on the screen now when we watch this show. I am loving it.
Yeah, Hank is the badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I don't know that any other show, and I know many other shows do this, but I don't know that any other show has done this as well as Breaking Bad has. You've got your anti-hero and your anti-villain. So,
Yeah.
Walter White is supposed to be the hero. He's doing all this for his family. He's doing
Yeah.
horrible things for good reasons. You don't want him to get caught, but you do want him to stop.
Yeah.
And then Hank, whose job it is to stop drug dealers, it's like you want him to succeed, but you don't want him to
Yeah.
succeed.
Yeah.
So how many times in one show can you be torn with what characters are doing? And I think Breaking Bad just breaks.
For me, that one of the scenes where that crystallizes is when are we allowed to talk like
crystal meth.
Yeah. So
See that?
when Jesse is going to be disappeared, as it were, by the vacuum guy,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah, when he
And
was going to
so-
join the
Part of me is like, okay, good, this is good for Walt. And then when Jesse realizes what's going on and then runs back and does the gasoline, at that moment, I'm both rooting for Jesse to just tear it up and also rooting for Walt to stop it.
Yeah.
It's weird. At that point, you're like along for the ride.
I know.
It's just gonna roll.
I know.
Yeah.
It's such an adrenaline rush. Because when Jesse was going to burn down the whole house, you did want him to burn down the house, but you wanted Hank to stop him too. It's insane how great that show is. It's really insane.
And Badger and Skinny Pete.
Yes.
This time watching through, every scene that Skinny Pete and Badger are in, I'm always
Yes.
smiling.
I think my favorite characters are Saul Goodman. So that Better Call Saul is I prefer to Breaking Bad, and then Badger and Skinny Pete,
Talk to you later.
and
I don't understand that, but I respect your decision, but I don't understand it.
I kind of do. And from this standpoint,
And I love Better Call Saul.
I think it's
I did.
because it's the character I prefer, and I just despise Walt.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. There is a redemption arc for Saul.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's really not for Walt. It's like he kinda.
Yeah,
He makes peace with himself.
Yeah.
But
That's not really a redemption arc. That's
Yeah.
just he realizes, oh, I was doing this for me. I'm the bad guy,
I don't
but
know.
I like it.
He went back and he saved Jesse. He
Oh, yeah,
cleared
that's true.
Skylar of all. I mean, he did everything he could to clear Skylar of all. I mean, it's like he accepted all the things that he had done wrong,
True.
and I think he made amends for it. Not quite like Saul did.
Yeah.
But but he died for it.
But he still screwed Skylar over because she ended up with nothing and having to work whatever she could get.
Assuming Elliot and Gretchen. So the deal was that they
I believe with all my heart, Elliot and Gretchen got that money to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And having Badger and Skinny Pete shine the lasers in the window.
Really?
That whoever thought of that, I hope they got a promotion to whatever. I mean, I know it was the final episode, but
Didn't Vince write and direct that?
well, he should promote himself to director,
It's a super director.
Yeah.
So, since you're both huge fans, did either one of you get a chance to look at either one of Alan Sepinwall's books, whether it's Breaking Bad 101 or the just released Saul Goodman v. Jimmy McGill?
Oh, no.
I have not.
No.
I was planning on reading them. I started reading the Breaking Bad 101. I only got about 80 pages into it because schoolwork, end of semester. Yeah. But those books are definitely worth a look because he goes through the symbolism like you were talking about in each episode. And it's not just, I liked this is why you should watch it. It's like, this is what they're doing in this episode. This is what's being foreshadowed in a future episode. So these are books, well, like they say, the complete critical companion. You would read it after you watch the show. This isn't a
Yeah, I wouldn't think you'd want to try to read along, especially not with the way I read. It takes me all summer to read a book. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't read well.
With Breaking Bad 101, Alan Sepinwall says in the front, like, if you watch a show, you can read the corresponding chapter. The other one I haven't dug into yet, so I don't know if that is the same. But they're not books you could read before you watch the show because they're not histories of the show. They are helping you understand the show better. These are the books you would assign if you were doing a class on Breaking Bad.
Right.
Okay.
There's some aspects of the show, and I think when I mentioned before that I wasn't watching a lot of TV when it came out, actually helped me enjoy it more because I had no idea who Giancarlo Esposito was, but apparently he was in a movie or two before.
He was in Homicide: Life on the Street.
Yeah,
I read on his Wikipedia that he was.
He's been in.
He was not doing well right before Breaking Bad.
Right, he was on Broadway though. He was known. He just wasn't.
He was the story I read had something to do with he was not in a good place, and then he got the character of Gus. But the point is, I had no idea who he was. So the episodes when Walt is going to meet this mystery dude at the chicken place, I seriously, and I will say this, the first time we saw that episode when Chicken Guy came up, Gus. I'm like, okay, we're going to introduce this other character. Let's get to the meat. Come on. Where's the guy?
Yeah.
I was in the same headspace as Walt.
Well, Tuco was already dead.
I know, but I was already pissed off. I was as pissed as Walt was when he later has a conversation with Saul and says, my guy says you didn't show up. He's like, I was there. I was upset. I was like, yeah, he was there. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
Are you serious? And then he became the guy. My mind blown out of my head. We were picking up the pieces all night, but that made Gus end up being one of my favorite villains of any show or movie ever. And one thing that I feel bad for people who get into the show now. There's so many memes and so many references in popular culture to Breaking Bad. It's hard to not know that Gus is who Gus is. So now when people watch it, it's like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, he's also such a major role in Better Call Saul where it's impossible to not know if you have even a passing familiarity with Better Call Saul.
Right.
Well, the thing about Gus is, my God, the talent it takes to play that character, because he's cold as ice. You're scared to death of him.
Yes.
But then it's like, put yourself in the place of people who work at the chicken
Pollos Hermanos.
Yeah, Pollos Hermanos. Like, our boss is awesome. And I've said it before. It's like, he offered the best customer service of any person ever on television.
So he
makes Chick-fil-A look like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a Walmart.
Yeah.
So both Walt and Giancarlo, Gus and Walt, act with their eyes a lot. And
Yeah.
Gus, as we're going through it now, there is so much acting in Gus's eyes. There are so many scenes.
Yeah.
One in particular, the first show or the first episode of season 4, he says one line. Like
Yes.
he's in a scene for like 15 minutes, you know, where I'm talking about, where he goes down to the lab, he takes his tie off, all the stuff, he puts on the wetsuit, comes over, does his thing.
Oh, this is why you don't want to kill us.
Yeah. And it's like, but if you see the look in his eyes when Walt comes to visit him and he's making dinner for Walt, there's so much being communicated with his eyes. Walt does a similar thing when he does the switch over to Heisenberg. You know, he's got the Heisenberg voice, but he changes in his eyes first, and there's a squint, but it's more than a squint, because I can imagine that at some point in the production, Vince Gilligan and the rest of the team were like,
It's almost
we got to
like-
be careful here. We don't want it to be like, oh, every time you squint, you're Heisenberg, because he also squints when he's Walt, and Jesse's acting like an idiot, and he's like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
So there's like a humorous squint that he has, but then there's that
Icy
Heisenberg
cold.
switch.
Yeah.
It's almost like he went to the Clint Eastwood school of squinting.
Yeah, it's like Sylvester Stallone in Over the Top when he turns his hat around.
Yes.
And before he just slams the arms down.
Yeah.
Arm wrestling in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that at just any podcast.
No.
But you got it here.
Got it here, folks.
Boom.
Yeah. Shakalaka.
What did you think of Giancarlo Esposito's accent as Gus? Because it was driving me crazy. He's an amazing actor, but that accent, I'm just like, what does this guy really sound like? And he really sounds like a dude from New York, which he is.
Yeah.
His accent never bothered me at all. I went back and I watched every episode of Homicide, and honestly, I mean, he was on season 7, so he wasn't on the show long enough to really make an impact. And sorry, Giancarlo, but a lot of the episodes he was overacting a lot.
Okay.
So, but he
We will
really
make sure
found-
not to send this to him.
Do not send this to him. And if you do, I apologize, because I'm a fan of his. But yeah, I remember the episode where I think he had to stay at the chicken place for his alibi. And
Do you have like a heater or something on in the background?
No.
No.
Okay, that's my air conditioner.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. I was going to say, blink twice if you need us to call the police. We'll,
No, there was the episode where he needed to be at the chicken place for his alibi.
Yeah.
And so there was one employee left, and he was cleaning all the stuff. And he says, "Is everything good, Mr. Fring?" And he goes, "If you feel that your job has been done satisfactorily, I will let you go." So he just keeps cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, and then he's like, "If that is good for you, okay." And, he gives him
And then
that
he goes
gentle,
cleans it. Like, I don't
and
understand.
and then he stays longer and longer and longer, right?
Yeah.
And so he never told the guy, no, that's not done right. But it's like, and even he was being so kind, but at that point, it's like he was kind of intimidating the guy. But yeah, Giancarlo was great.
I mean,
I mean-
it was also clean like the 12th time.
Yeah. But no, as far as you had mentioned like favorite characters, but I mean,
Jonathan Banks,
it's
Mike.
like as much as as hard as it is to as easy as it is to despise Walt's still my favorite character. I loved Jesse so much.
Yeah.
Mike Ehrmantraut was fantastic.
Yeah.
There's so many people who hated Skylar. I don't understand why people hated Skylar. Like, guys, I mean, put yourself in her shoes. Her husband wasn't there when she had the baby. He was selling meth. He was killing people.
And
They
he
shot a
wasn't
kid
telling
after
her-
they robbed a train.
Yeah.
He every time he turned around, he was lying to her. And by the way, he was a horrible liar.
Oh,
As
yeah.
good as he was as a teacher and as good as he was as a meth cook, horrible liar. And if you ever watch Your Honor, which is on Netflix right now, he's so much better at lying in Your Honor.
Yeah, and Vince points that out in the behind the scenes. It was intentional for Walt to be really bad at lying,
Yeah.
He gets more comfortable with it. The lies come more often, but it's still it's like a window back to how he was in episode 1 and 2. Back in those, he actually turns back into that version of Walt periodically when he's lying, and it culminates when he gets to Ozymandias, the episode where when Hank says you're the smartest guy I've ever met, but you
don't realize
you
that
can't see.
he made up his mind 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Episode 1 Walt. He's broken down to nothing at that point. He's basically begging and just spouting off all these things. He has no idea what he's doing. It's almost like you take that character from episode 1 and put him as the kingpin.
And it's in that episode where he knows they're going to kill Hank, and he's begging as hard as he can possibly beg. And I think that's when even Hank forgave him. Like, realized, like, God, this guy got so stupid, way over his head. And I honestly believe that Hank forgave him because he was just like, no, we can work this out. He has family. Tell him that you won't say a thing about it. Tell him. And there's no way Hank's gonna let this go.
Yeah.
No.
Hank died like a badass.
Oh,
And
name's
that was-
ASAC Schrader, and you can go.
Yeah. That was the episode where I stood up and put my hands on my head and went, no.
Oh, and I forgot about Gomi.
Gomez was
Gomi,
awesome.
Gomi went out hard, man. That's kind of bothered me always. Gomi's good, and when the gunfight starts, and then the beginning of the next episode, Gomi's just laying over there by a car. I didn't want some big drawn-out death scene with Gomi, like the beginning of Tropic Thunder, but still, it would have been nice to have something.
Yeah. No, Gomez was awesome. And you think about all the lives that were lost because of Walt's stupidity. But, okay, so the first time I watched it, I thought, why didn't he stop? Okay, he could have just stopped. But there were so many reasons why he had to keep going. Like, they did it with the first time, and he says, okay, I'm not doing it again. And isn't that when Jesse asked him to cook one more?
Yeah.
Okay, and so then they decided we're going to cook one more. So they cooked that, and then
So I'm at a point
the
right
cancer
now.
came back, and he had to have more money, and then
So there is a point. There is a
Skylar
point where
gave it all away.
he was done. He was out. Hank had found who Hank thought. What Hank thought that Gail Bedecker was the Heisenberg.
yes,
Yeah.
Because we're like I said, I'm rewatching it. I'm in that episode right now. There's a point where Walt has made the money. Gus still wants to kill him, but we know that resolves itself.
Right.
Or he resolves that. But there's a point. There's a very real point where Hank is saying, "I'm done. I got him." And Walt's pride kicks in and says, "Are you sure that you got him?" And he's drinking a glass of wine, and I almost stood up again, a 5th time watching it. Almost stood up and said, "Dude, you're out.
Yeah.
All you have to do
Walk away.
is walk away."
Shut
There's
up.
so many times where Walter is just like giving Hank clues
Yeah.
and confessing, but Hank doesn't realize because he just thinks of him as
Well, who
Yeah,
wants
when he
to
finds the
fix it?
WW in the lab book, and he says, "Who's that, Walter White?" He's like, "You got me." You know.
yeah.
Yep.
Or Hank is helping him move out because Skylar and him are at that point getting a divorce, and Hank picks up the bag with the $500,000 or $600,000.
What do you got
And
in
he's
it?
like, "What do you got in it?" "About $500,000
In
in
cash.
cash." Yeah. I love that. scene.
Yeah.
I think that's just hubris at that point.
Yeah, but there's a few points in there, and I love those points. They frustrated me when we were watching it the first time, but coming back, I really believe that's the writers. They did an excellent job, and the fact that El Camino exists and Better Call Saul exists is testament to this. They did an excellent job of tying everything together and tying everything up, and I think those scenes are part of them making sure that everyone knows this is not just something that he accidentally fell into. This is a fatal character flaw that he has. His
Yes.
pride
Yeah.
is going to drag him down, and it happened in this point, in this scene, and in this scene. He can't escape himself. Even when he's done and he's won, he can't accept it. He wants he wants everyone. It's like the age-old thing of he wants everyone to know what he did, but he can't because
Right.
he
Yeah.
can't say anything about
He
it.
wants the credit because he
Yeah.
never got credit. It's like nobody respected him as a teacher. He certainly wasn't respected at the car wash.
Yeah.
And
No.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they respected him at home, but I don't know if did he feel disrespected at home? I don't think he felt disrespected.
No, they loved him at home.
Yeah.
He was
So
dad.
that
you know.
wasn't a problem. But I love how they paced the evolution of Walter White.
But I
because-
also, him and Skylar do not have the best relationship.
At the beginning, I think
they were
that's
kind of bored at the
Yeah, they're in
beginning,
a-
but I don't think they had it. I'm not trying to. I don't think they had a bad relationship, but they were going through a rut. I think they were kind of like
Right.
on automatic.
Well, he does pretty much rape her at the end of either the first episode.
yeah, but it's after he starts cooking meth.
Yeah.
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 So he's already kind of gone. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
gone down the bad path at that point. And that's another one of those clues. It's like, yeah, you made the meth, you made a bad decision, but then what's this deal? What are you doing with Skylar here? What is that? That's inside you.
Yeah.
You know.
But
Yes.
No, he opened up the guy's hood at the gas station and put the squeegee in there, and then it exploded. And then
I
the
think
guy
that's
was making
great.
fun of Walt Jr. when he
Yeah.
was trying on pants, and then he just knocks him down. Hey, tough guy, what do you got to say now? Huh?
Which, by the way, the music in this series is, I love all the music in Breaking Bad, but in the first 6 episodes, either they didn't have the money to license good music or they didn't have whoever did it, because in that episode when Walt Jr. is trying on the pants and Walton comes around to attack the bully, there's a weird piccolo jazz thing going. Go back and watch it. It's
okay.
it was hard for me to keep a straight face watching it again, because when you get to the later seasons, you know, when we've clearly got a huge budget from AMC and this is the most popular show of all time, they've got some amazing audio going on.
It may have been because Walter White at that point is so meek that it's absurd that he would go attack the bully. So
Yeah.
they put
Yeah.
some absurd music in the background
That's true.
Yeah.
to highlight
Yeah.
that.
Now, was Breaking Bad more popular than, like, say, Walking Dead? I can't remember what got the because AMC wasn't known for having ratings at the time.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not a Walking Dead fan, so I'm the wrong one to
Okay,
ask that. In terms of popularity, maybe there weren't as many people watching Breaking Bad, but I think a series that stood the test of time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's more beloved,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Well,
It won
yeah,
it
and
won
The
a ton of
Walking
Emmy Awards.
Yeah,
The Walking Dead is literally a zombie series at this
Yeah.
point.
yeah,
The whole all the spin-offs, but I've had conversations with someone who worked at AMC at the time. I don't know if I can mention his name, so I won't. But the
Call him
reason
Kevin.
why AMC was so big with Walking Dead, because they own all of Walking Dead. With Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, they went out and got partners
yeah.
to help afford it. And even
Gotcha.
though AMC spent most of the money, the partners, I think Better Call Saul was Sony, got the rights to it,
Mhm.
which is why AMC Plus doesn't have many episodes of those series, and Netflix has all of them, and El Camino was a Netflix original movie rather than an AMC thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it premiered on Netflix before it was on AMC.
Yeah.
The El Camino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've had this theory forever, not to go too far into Walking Dead, but I have to throw this theory out there that they had actual 4 teams of writers.
Mhm.
The Walking Dead. They had the people writing the episodes about the people walking to a farmhouse. Then they wrote another
You
team
can't
writing
get
the
past the
episodes
farmhouse.
about them getting a new member to the
Mhm.
crew,
Yeah.
and then there's the group that wrote the episodes about somebody turns into a zombie,
Mhm.
and
Yep,
then
that's
there's
every-
the other group that writes the episode of the big zombie fight and we run,
Mhm.
and which leads into the next we're walking to another farmhouse.
Uh-huh.
And
they
we
just
needed
alternate.
14 seasons of that.
Yeah, they just every 4 episodes they go
Yeah.
through that cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas Breaking Bad is a continuous, decent, well-told story. I'm not a Walking Dead.
I agree. It didn't. Breaking Bad didn't have any lulls in it. I mean, there was the Fly episode, which it wasn't a bad episode. I've always said that it's the one that you could take out. You could skip that episode, and you don't lose anything about the show. You don't.
I think there's character development.
It goes into character development. Yes.
It was a big hit here. So as we're going back through, the Fly was one of the big hit episodes.
Yeah.
But another thing, and I mentioned it earlier. So
The Fly won an Emmy for that.
Awesome. When I think of when Fly won an Emmy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey.
Good for it.
So when I think of movies that like tie everything together, I think Shawshank Redemption, I think is like that's probably taught in universities as how to tie everything together and make an ending that's awesome. And I think the last episode of Breaking Bad does that like crazy. I mean, it's like they tie everything together. And in the barrel in the one of the commentaries, Vince Gilligan is talking about how proud they were of the ricin death of Lydia.
Yeah.
Because they were beating their heads against the walls in the writer's room. We have to take care of this. How can we do it? And one of them said, "Hey, back in season 3, Walt put the ricin in an electric socket."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, really?" And they hurried and shot that scene with Walt doing that. And
what
they
was
were
his neighbor's name?
Margaret or Barbara.
Hello, Barbara.
Hello, Barbara.
She's like, drops her groceries.
But even with all that, and that they have, the two huge loose ends. One is Huel, which I love, and I love that they acknowledge that Huel is stuck in that safe house and has no idea what's going on at the end.
Well, Comedy or Die had the Huel's Rules. If
you mean Funny or Die?
Or Funny or Die. Huel's Rules. They had a sitcom based on him and his family living in protective custody in that hotel room. And he's got the sassy wife who was the host on the Nailed It baking competition show on Netflix. Yeah. And then he's got the smart-ass son, and he's chasing the kids around. Huel's Rules! It's just,
and then you have the other major loose end, which is Jesse.
Yeah.
Driving out. And I love El Camino so much it literally just starts right as he's busting through the fence.
Well, no, I didn't like El Camino.
Oh, I loved El Camino.
I found it hard to follow, and I didn't feel like much went on. But also, I think El Camino needs to be watched immediately after Breaking Bad in order to get the most out of it. And I watched it after Better Call Saul because I watched everything in the order it was released.
Yeah.
And the thing with that is I prefer Better Call Saul, but Breaking Bad ended stronger. Better Call Saul, I felt kind of fell apart towards the end of the last season, even though it started stronger.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got a friend. I've got a friend who had said. He said that Breaking Bad had the greatest finale of any TV show, and I said I disagree, and that's because 6 Feet Under has the greatest finale of any TV show ever. And he goes, "Okay." He says, "Okay, I'll agree with you on that." But he did ask me why, and I said because of Jesse. It's like, did Jesse could have gotten 5 miles away and was arrested? It's like, what happened to Jesse? Where's he going to go? He doesn't have any money.
Right.
And so that hung over everyone's heads for a few years before they finally gave us the movie.
Yeah, it was like 10 years.
Yeah.
And the idea of, and it has I think Todd, he has a bunch of flashbacks with Todd.
Yeah, Todd's in it a lot, and I hated Todd.
Yeah.
So I hated Todd so much that the hatred for Todd carried over into a lot of other Jesse Plemons movies.
So the reason I liked...
and I'm sure Jesse Plemons is a great guy.
The reason I liked El Camino so much is it would be very easy for them to just cash in and just, hey, we'll make a movie. But I feel like that had to be one singular, altogether story because of how tense it is. Like he's busting out. He made it, and he's hold on, there's cops, coming. He has to get past that.
Yeah.
He has
Right.
to be somewhere. I mean, he has to sleep at some point.
Yeah.
And he has to go back to, the one place you shouldn't go back to when you're in that situation is anywhere you've lived or anything that's tied to you at all. But he has to do that to get money.
Yeah.
So keeping that all in one contained thing instead of spreading it out over a couple episodes locks you into that minute to minute tension.
The urgency.
All the way through until he finally, he ends up in Alaska, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
And it's
also, with El Camino, what the Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul writers are very good at is making sure everything is intentional. So even though I didn't love El Camino, it didn't feel like a cash grab. It was definitely, they felt they needed to tell the end of Jesse's story.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And Vince Gilligan even said that. He's like, so many people were wondering what happened to Jesse. And so they had to tell that. They just had to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he was a bigger character in the show than Saul Goodman was, and we got Better Call Saul and Jimmy McGill.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when I heard that they were doing a spinoff with Better Call Saul, Saul Goodman, it was the same. I felt the same way as when I heard Frasier was getting a spinoff of Cheers. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Saul Goodman is getting a spinoff. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it out. I love Breaking Bad so much, I'll try it out. And I did love it. It was a much slower start, which how can you start faster than Breaking Bad did? Breaking Bad started with, Walter White in his underpants with a gun in his hand.
Yeah.
Making his confession. And I'm like, oh shit, what's
Yeah, you're in the middle of it, and then you're like, what's going on?
There's no way to start in fifth gear like that again. So, and I've got friends who would not watch Better Call Saul, or they tried it and I just can't get into it. And they watched it and it's just not as good as Breaking Bad. And I told them, it's like, no, it's not. But there's a lot of shows that aren't as good as Breaking Bad that are still really good shows.
Yeah,
right.
I think they did a really good job of making sure that not only was Saul a more complete character, but adding in awesome characters along with, like Howard is one of my favorite characters.
Howard Hamlin.
Oh, yes.
Amazing.
He did not deserve, spoiler alert,
Yeah.
Howard Hamlin did not deserve to go the way he went.
No, he didn't. That was awful.
With Lalo, right next to Lalo, the man who, it's like, I remember like, oh my God.
Yeah.
No.
Lalo's a great villain, though.
Oh, smiling all the time. Yeah.
And Lalo had that tunnel underneath his house.
Yeah.
And I want one of those so bad. I don't need an escape tunnel, but I want one. And I'm talking to my wife, and we're in plans. Well, I'm in plans to have an escape tunnel. She's not buying it yet.
Where would you escape to?
I don't care. Probably to my neighbor Chris's house.
Yeah.
Does
pop
Chris
out.
know this? Is he aware?
Chris doesn't know much.
He'll be fine with it.
Yeah,
Chris
he'll be fine.
Chris will be fine.
Yeah. I punched him on New Year's. He just got on my nerves.
He doesn't know that
He's got the most punchable face.
Chris? Does Chris know you feel this way?
He does.
Yes, he does.
He does. He's one of our best patrons too.
Yes.
Okay.
It's hush money. He pays us.
Not to punch him?
Yeah.
Yes, it's protection money.
But it would have been so easy for them to just cash in on Breaking Bad. I did not see the character Jimmy McGill as being, like, when it started. Better Call Saul, the way it starts and the way it goes really knocked me for a loop. Like, and the only criticism that I have of Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad together is, even though I've seen it all together, I know the whole story, it's still hard for me to get to the character that Saul is in Breaking Bad from where Jimmy McGill and Saul Goodman ends. He does turn into a jerk in Better Call Saul, but when he shows up in Breaking Bad, I mean, some of the first things he says is, you just have Badger killed. When Badger gets captured, it's like, just have him shanked. It's no big deal. I can't see the Jimmy McGill character in Better Call Saul saying that. And he also does the same thing with Jesse. Like, hey, we've got an old Yeller type situation here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It speaks to a past that I don't see him having. It's not a major thing, but it's still, I mean, they're not going to meet up perfectly.
No.
So that's one of those things. I was, when it started, I thought, oh, at some point Walt and Jesse are going to show up in the show. And by the time they do, it's not like, oh, thank God they're here. It's like, oh no, this show already has its own cast of characters.
Yeah.
It's
like, why are you here?
And it's just like, oh yeah, Jesse would be. I think the scene with him and Ken Wexler, he's bumming a light.
Boy, this rain is bananas. Isn't it?
He would be at that point that Jesse, and he would be there. I mean, he looks older than Jesse did at that time in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, there's
that is a problem that plagues Better Call Saul. Is everyone is obviously older.
Yeah.
And
I think, go ahead.
We know what Bob Odenkirk looked like at the age Saul is, so it's just like the wrinkles in his eyes, and it's like, this is clearly a 50-something-year-old man.
They tried. They tried.
I think they brought Walt and Jesse onto the show at the right time, because I don't think it's like, we don't want to bring them on there because we need to bring them on there. We want to bring them on there as icing on the cake.
Because it makes sense to bring them in at this point.
Yeah.
It gives you a timestamp. Oh, this is when this stuff is happening.
Like, we're not doing this because we need a ratings boost.
And then and then when you go back, like I said, we're going back through when Jesse and Walt kidnap Saul out in the desert, he's actually naming, Lalo and Ignacio and villains from Better Call Saul. When he's got the gun. And I know from reading about it that, Vince Gilligan and the writers, they're like, oh, here they just made those names up on the fly with Breaking Bad. It's like, oh, now we're making Better Call Saul. These are the names of the villains we're going to use over here, but it's still really cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah, they just pulled them out of the air when they wrote when.
So that wasn't intentional foreshadowing.
No,
that couldn't have been, because they had no plans of doing Better Call Saul.
No.
They when they went back, they did like all the different parts where they would reference each other. That pointed to something that they could do in Better Call Saul.
Right.
What did you think about the Gene Takovic parts of Better Call Saul? Because I didn't feel like we needed the sequel aspect in it.
Well, I don't think we would have come to a conclusion, to come to the redemption that he had, going to prison, accepting what he had done. And it's like, okay, I did this, and I'm gonna, he cleared Kim Wexler.
Yeah.
Much like Walter cleared Skyler. So
the
that's what he did.
parallels.
Like, he says, okay, I did all this stuff. I'm gonna jump on this bomb here, and I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
And he did the right thing, and he had redemption.
Yeah.
But he got it down to 8 years, and he took the life sentence.
Yeah. But I mean, good for him. I wanted Carol Burnett to win the Emmy Award so bad.
Yes.
For her part. And I'll never forget when she came on. I'm like, holy crap, it's Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
And she was great on it. And how amazing was Kim Wexler?
Yes.
What a fantastic character. And I was so uncomfortable, though, as much as I enjoyed watching her, and she's a great actress. But every time I would see her on, I'm like, she wasn't in Breaking Bad.
No.
So do the math there. And I was convinced, like, she's going to die. She's going to die. Baseball card guy, he's going to die. I love the baseball card guy so much, too.
Doesn't she end up in Florida at, like, a mechanic doing the books or something?
Yeah.
Was that a mechanic?
Yeah. And she's actually, Vince Gilligan is writing a new show. She's going to be the leads in the new show.
Yeah.
Is that confirmed? I know that was floated around.
Yeah. I think it's confirmed in this basement.
Vince called you, right?
Yeah, he did.
You two were tight.
We text.
Okay. Yeah. Not that tight. Yeah. But no, Kim was great. And as far as Better Call Saul, I loved seeing Hector before the stroke, because he's just a despicable character.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Salamanca.
Yeah.
Though his Spanish is horrible because the actor didn't speak Spanish.
I didn't know that. I never really paid attention to it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've read about people who watch the show who are and they're native Spanish speakers who are like, oh, these accents don't match the locations.
Yeah.
It's like he's speaking Cuban Spanish, but he's supposedly from
Right.
I guess it'd be like
They would
watching
know, yeah.
The
Tijuana.
Wolf of Wall Street if Leonardo DiCaprio's like, come on down over here and get some stocks. We would catch it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like a Bostonian accent compared to a New Orleans accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell where people are from. So,
Yeah.
but Nacho was such a great character on Better Call Saul.
That
yeah.
when he's his last scene when he's just
He wanted out so badly, and they just kept
Yeah.
clawing him back in because he was worth too much to them.
Yeah, he's basically the Jesse Pinkman of that
Yeah.
of that run.
But Allison, earlier you said that you preferred Better Call Saul to Breaking Bad, and I Breaking Bad is way up here compared to Better Call Saul for me, and I love Better Call Saul. But for me, it's like the character arc with Walter went from this to that, and then it's like Jimmy McGill's character arc didn't really skyrocket to anything. He went from Slippin' Jimmy to a more seedy lawyer.
It's
then,
Slippin' Jimmy with a law degree.
Yeah.
So,
but again, I thought Better Call Saul was great, and I couldn't get enough of it. And Howard Hamlin was just, oh God, I want Howard Hamlin to be in every movie because I loved hearing him talk. I want him to just come and read me a book, and then I'll go to sleep at night with Howard Hamlin reading to me.
Or we could have a Howard Hamlin spinoff.
it's so cool if you look at
it had to be a prequel.
my favorite thing about him is when you see pictures of the cast together, like the party and all this stuff. He's the one cast member who looks exactly like he does in the show.
Yes.
In all the pictures. Like
Yes.
the rest of them, they're like whatever, and sometimes Jesse and Walt dresses each other, but Howard Hamlin always has the suit, everything just like perfectly done up. I was like, dude, I was like, you are that guy.
Well, Bob Odenkirk will forever have a pass with me. I don't care what he does. If he makes he can make the most horrible movies from here until the end of eternity. But he wrote the skit. Matt Foley, motivational speaker on Saturday Night Live with Chris Farley. So whatever he does, it doesn't matter to me. It just doesn't matter.
How do you feel about Mr. Show?
I haven't watched every episode, but what stuff I saw, I thought he and David Cross were great together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another show I just finished.
It's good. I can't tell you one skit that they did. I just remember what I saw I liked.
Yeah, Tom Kenny, who is best known as SpongeBob now.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh geez. This is such a weird thing because SpongeBob came out in 1999. So I grew up with SpongeBob, not Mr. Show.
Right. Yeah. And SpongeBob was awesome in its own right. I mean, Patrick SquarePants is like the greatest.
Patrick SquarePants?
Patrick Starfish. Patrick SquarePants. Yes.
Patrick Star, SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah.
Of course, I remember him from Coach. So, but we're straying. We're going off topic. How about Airwolf? Huh? Oh, nope. Damn it, Darin.
Yeah.
No. Better Call Saul sadly has the record for most Emmy nominations without one single win. They were nominated for 53 Emmy Awards.
Wow.
Over the time it was on. They lost every damn one of them. Every one they lost. That's just
That's painful.
Yeah. Although, in a way, kind of like, let's own it.
Yeah.
We've got that record because if you win one, then you don't get that monumental feat that they had.
That is true.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, they only won one Emmy Award as opposed to they lost 53 times and didn't win one.
We haven't even mentioned the greatest character on Better Call Saul, who was Chuck.
Oh, yes, Michael McKean.
Michael McKean, who was Lenny of
Yes.
Lenny and Squiggy on Laverne and Shirley. So you kids in podcast land who don't have a what am I trying to say?
I don't know.
You got to go back and watch Laverne and Shirley and get
Yes.
just to fully understand
Or Spinal Tap.
how great this character is. Yeah, but Michael McKean, who is Lenny on Laverne and Shirley, and then he's this incredible character. He thinks he's allergic to electricity.
Yeah.
He's crazy, but he's crazy, but he's also very good at.
Well, I wouldn't say he's crazy.
He's
just
crazy. He's off his chain.
okay.
He's not allergic to electricity. They slipped the phone in his pocket. He had no.
No,
idea.
I know it's
And
not
then
a
when he
real
was in-
thing, but it's
He was in
clearly
the
a mental
emergency
illness.
Room, he
Yes.
didn't lose everything because he was in the emergency room with all the electricity going on in there.
Yeah.
It was all in his head.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my God, I was so amazed with how great a dramatic actor he is.
How do you feel about him getting killed off?
Oh, it broke my heart when he set his house on fire. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like, I mean, it was a great episode. My least favorite moment of the show. I'm like, no, not Chuck. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's also, I don't know where they could have gone with that character arc at that point.
I gotta say, I Chuck annoyed me. I was kind of.
Oh, really?
I didn't like Chuck. Every time that a scene would come on with Chuck,
Mm-hmm.
I did like when he was coming back to work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Well, okay.
I need to watch. I've only seen Better Call Saul the series once. So
I
need to go back and watch
appreciate
it.
Michael McKean's dramatic acting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the character Chuck bugged the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very annoying. He was demeaning to Jimmy.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was pompous and condescending and everything like that. But I didn't want him to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Chuck initially, and then as I got further into the series and how Chuck affected the path of Jimmy's life, I'm just like,
Mhm.
oh, Chuck is actually horrible. And
Yeah.
Jimmy, had he given him the chance, could have turned into something else.
Yeah.
Like, he could have
Yeah.
been more ethical as a lawyer. I think he still would have pushed the boundaries, but I don't think he would have turned into, oh, let's just kill people who get on our
Yeah.
wrong side.
But it's like, you know what? Despite their relationship, how bad it was, Jimmy kept going to his house. He
Yeah.
kept bringing him ice. He would always put his cell phone in the mailbox so he wouldn't bring it in, and he would bring him newspapers and whatever artificial forms of light that he had.
Yeah.
And he would have taken care of him forever, despite their horrible relationship
Yeah.
that they had.
Yeah.
So.
And
yeah,
Chuck
was a
just
great
didn't
character.
appreciate that at all.
No, he did not. Yeah.
And I also didn't fully get why Jimmy started with helping old people with their wills and then ended up in criminal law, helping the shadiest of the shady.
I think he just got more money that way, didn't he?
Yeah. He got more money.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also had to, after he got disbarred,
Mm-hmm.
he had to give his clients to someone else.
Yeah.
True.
I-
Yeah. That's true.
Well, one of my problems with the show is Kim Wexler would never romantically be involved with Jimmy. I was like, this is written into there, but Kim Wexler would never have anything to do with a guy like him.
She had a side to herself.
Syndrome.
Yeah, she had a side to herself there. She
Yeah.
She had a. Yeah, I mean, yeah, she was no angel.
I think there's something about him that appealed to her, like the
Mhm.
bad
The
side
bad
of
boy
things,
image,
because she
yeah.
was also complicit in some of his crimes.
Oh yeah, they started doing the scams at that resort or the bar or whatever, and she was all into it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that could be why.
Yeah.
Not so much she loved him,
Yeah.
but more. First of all, they also just got married so that they wouldn't have to testify against each other.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she also smokes cigarettes. I'm like, Kim, you need to stop smoking. It's bad for you.
Yeah, and Jimmy only smoked when he was with her.
Ah.
Is that right?
I think there might be once or twice
yeah.
where he's smoking
Yeah.
without her, but he's
Yeah.
not going through them like she was.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did have them in his glove box, so
Yeah.
he would reach for them, but it
That's
wasn't
right.
like
That's right.
Yeah.
it wasn't on him all the time though.
Yeah.
If you have to go to your glove box, get your cigarettes out.
You might as well just quit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, so Walter White showed up on Better Call Saul. Pretty good cameo. They were on twice.
Yeah.
Right. He and Jesse were both on twice.
Yeah.
I thought his cameo in El Camino, I thought his bald wig looked really fake.
I don't.
Oh,
remember.
everyone complains about that. And the
Because
CGI.
he shaved his head for the series, but he wore a bald wig for El Camino.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, at the time,
But they didn't ask me what I thought. They didn't reach out and consult me or nothing. So, I mean, hey, that's what happens.
Yeah.
the timeline of that is why Bryan Cranston couldn't shave his head. He was in the Broadway play Network and flew out for like 24 hours to shoot the Walter White scenes.
Right.
And he couldn't shave his head because that would give it away. And also, his character in Network didn't have a shaved head. So they just kind of ended up with this horrible bald cap and CGI that takes you out of it. Like, what's going on there?
What was the Broadway show he did that won him the Tony? He played a president, right? Bryan Cranston?
Are we talking about Network?
No,
he didn't play the president.
He did another Broadway show that won him a Tony, and he was one of our presidents. I know it wasn't Lincoln.
William Howard Taft.
It was William Howard Taft.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that solves that. So
Okay.
he won a Tony Award.
Oh no, it was Lyndon B. Johnson.
Johnson. That's right. Yeah. Yep. That
Pretty
was
much
my
the
next
same
guy.
guy.
That was my next guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Boy, you're quick with the research, aren't you?
Google.
Oh. Thanks, Google.
Yeah.
We've got a set of encyclopedias over there,
Yeah,
so we have to
Funkin' Waggle.
stop the show and go look something up. Yeah, we can't afford Britannica. We got the Funkin' Waggle.
Yeah, that's right. How did we do? We didn't break your podcast this week, did we?
No,
No, you didn't.
Oh, good.
we did
Good.
we did really well.
That was our goal. I wanted to do better this time. I felt bad for. I felt like the last time we were on your show, I felt like we just, the three of us were in a car and we led you to drive it off the road, and then we just walked away. Sitting there with the engine and the steam coming out, and you're like, "What happened?" We're like,
happened? Yeah.
"Bye." See, Alex.
We were
Sorry.
pushing
She's like,
Jimmy's
"Can you
car off the
Can
cliff.
you help me fix the flat?"
Well, we're so used to doing that with our own show.
Yeah.
It's just what we do.
Yeah. It is. We do it to ourselves every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the show. And
Yeah.
is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Tell them how to find us.
If you want to listen to Irritable Dad Syndrome, you can go to irritabledadsyndrome.com. We're on the internet. We're also on Apple and Spotify and YouTube, everywhere you get your
Google,
podcasts. But yeah, go to irritabledadsyndrome.com and you can download every episode that we have. And that's like the best place to check us out. Mike does all the graphics.
Oh, what? Yes.
Yeah. Mike does all the
Mike
graphics
does.
for the website, and they're pretty kick-ass.
They're very orange.
Yeah, so Mike handles all the video stuff. I handle the audio aspect of the audio version of the podcast. But it's a fun show. We have a good time. We've done it for 5 years, and we're just going to keep doing it as long as we enjoy it. So.
Yeah.
Nice. So check out Irritable Dad Syndrome. Is there anything else you want to add, Mike, since Darin...
No, I let him do all that because I stumble all over the place. I have a tendency to just go off. So if you listen to our show, you'll find that Darin is typically very organized in what he's saying, and he does a very good job of putting together a rundown. Whereas I am like the cat that comes in and shits all over the floor,
Knocks
and then he
everything
So
has
off
to,
Darin's
he
the
has to clean it
organized
up.
one?
He
That's
is.
pretty sad, right?
He is.
Yes.
So yeah,
Hey, wait a
typically,
minute. You don't have to be that excited. That's surprised.
if you listen to our early episodes, every once in a while I try to tell people how to find the show. Then that ends up being I end up talking about Peeps or Breaking Bad. So I just
Like
I'm
Peeps,
done with
like
that.
the marshmallows.
Like you're doing now.
Like I'm doing right now. Cinnamon churro Peeps are the bomb. I'm done with
It has
Peeps.
nothing to do with
It has everything to do. Peeps make everything better.
Do they even
yeah.
still make cinnamon churro Peeps?
They make
Yeah.
cinnamon churro Peeps.
They're the bomb.
I've got multiple boxes
Yeah.
upstairs. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Mike
still
is
have
addicted to
I
Peeps.
still have candy cane Peeps from Christmas.
Oh, I love those.
They're up there.
I love those more than life itself. Those are amazing.
2 boxes.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
I don't want to add anything else because you don't want what I'm adding.
Okay. So you can find Irritable Dad Syndrome wherever you get your podcasts and Peeps at your local supermarket.
Yes.
That's right.
And until next time, I'm Allison Lips. Remember, television is a medium, neither rare nor well done. Bye.
Oh, look at that.